and welcome to another episode of US Law Live, US Law's official podcast. I am Pam Hallford, coming to you from Dothan, Alabama on this Valentine's Day week is when we're recording this podcast. I am joined by Jessica Dark over in Oklahoma. How's it going, Jessica?
Hi, Pam. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Did you do something big for the Super Bowl last night?
I was just telling our guest that it was on at the party I was at. I will not say that I really spent a lot of time staring at it, watching it, other than I did participate in the halftime show featuring Bad Bunny. And now finding out that the bushes, the trees that were all over the field as
Field?
part of his setup were real people dressed as bushes and trees. And I am just wondering, how do I get a gig like that? I'm assuming you get to go to the Super Bowl for free. You get to watch a concert for free, and all you have to do is dress up like a tree.
Nice.
I'm thinking
I don't even
maybe
know what
next
you're talking about, because I was watching Olympics ice skating, so seems
okay,
very much more me.
you
Today,
brought up the Super Bowl, Pam.
do I know?
You brought up the Super Bowl.
I know.
Our
I should have brought up pairs skating because that's what I'm really into. We are joined today by Lisa Black in New York. Hello, Lisa. How are you?
Hello, ladies. How are you doing?
Good.
we are so
You a
glad to
Super
have
Bowler
you.
last night?
I did. It was more so on in the background. I'm a Giants fan, so had no stake in that game other than the Super Bowl boxes, which I unfortunately did not win. That was what I was focused on.
Okay. I have just pulled up a picture from last night's Super Bowl halftime show, and it looks like there was a lot of gyrating that seemed to have happened.
I will tell
Um,
you a lot was going on. It was
there was,
some may say appealing to the eye, and some may say that it was not. Running the risk of making sure everyone enjoys this podcast, I will just say there was a lot going on, Pam.
okay, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Well, how's the weather around the country where you girls are?
For me, we're in the frozen tundra at the moment. It's
Oh
supposed to warm
no.
up a bit, but we got slammed up here about a week ago, and it really has not melted at all. So it's
Oh
still
my
pretty
gosh.
cold. I think we had a negative 17 wind chill factor for the last few days, so it's been really cold up here.
Oh my
Whoa.
gosh. Well,
Yeah.
I'm reporting live from Oklahoma City, where the high today is 78, ladies.
Same here, Jessica.
We,
Yeah,
I,
I'm gonna have to come visit you ladies soon.
yeah, there was no fighting and arguing on getting dressed today because shorts, skirts, t-shirts were all appropriate, and I just sent them out the door.
Oh my gosh, how wonderful. It's like that here too, but we had snow a few weeks ago, which like does not happen in South Alabama. So we are living in like weather schizophrenia right now. So I'm just riding it day by day, as best I can.
So like you mentioned earlier, Pam, it's February now, but when this gets released, it will be March, which is being celebrated this month by US Law as Women's Connection Month. So very fitting that we have just another fabulous attorney and Lisa joining us from Black Marjieh and Sanford. Lisa, how are you? Give us an update on you, your firm, your involvement in US Law. Just lay it all out there for us.
Sure. Well, I'm doing great, and I'm very, very happy that we are back involved with U.S. law for the past, I think it's about 2 years now. And we had joined, I think, in February of 24. We're very excited for the participation in the network. Again, I'm actually very familiar with U.S. law. I was involved with them at my prior firm, which was a U.S. law member quite a while back. And so we're excited to be back involved with the network. It's been absolutely great. And actually, I just became a member of the board of directors. So that was another really exciting U.S. law, uh, basically participation for me. So I love it. It's great.
Well, congratulations on being elected to the board, Lisa, and we are more than happy to have you back. And I will say that I'm even more happy to have you involved in the network because as an advocate for women in the industry, I am so, I don't know, in shock and awe of you running a female owned firm. I just think that's so incredible and amazing. Tell us when
Thank
you guys
you.
got started.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really exciting. We started the firm in June of 2017. So we're coming up on our ninth year now, which is crazy to me. I can't believe how fast it's gone. And we basically doubled in size, which is great. And we have about 20 attorneys right now, and we're always looking for more, which has always been the
Right.
challenge, I think, across the board in the industry. It's
Yeah,
been,
everyone
Yeah.
is.
yeah, very challenging there. And I think everybody's living in the AI bubble, trying to figure out what's next, and it's happening at such a rapid pace. So there's lots of different things that, I think at a lot of the managing partner meetings, we talk about what keeps you up at night as a managing partner. There's a lot of things for sure, but it's all exciting, right? It's all new stuff and things that you can learn about from other attorneys, and especially within the network, there's so many brilliant attorneys, and I just love being surrounded by that. So that's just incredible.
What type of things do you all handle, or types of matters do you all handle at the firm?
Sure. Well, we're primarily a civil defense litigation firm. We do litigation in New York. We primarily handle construction claims, retail claims, general liability, and professional liability, I would say, are our major practice areas. And there's obviously a ton of construction in New York, and we are involved in many of those. I don't know if you're familiar with the New York labor law. Those are the construction site accidents. We have a ton of those as well, and they are pretty prominent in New York, because New York is actually the only state in the country that still has a strict liability law on the books for those types of accidents. So that
Oh,
keeps us
wow.
pretty busy. Yeah.
What is your primary area of practice, Lisa?
Construction and retail primarily. And then on the professional side, the A&E, the architects and engineers,
Sure.
they kind of cross over, because you really need to understand construction in order to defend the design professionals, but it's really a professional liability claim. So it kind of plays into both of those lines of business.
So the first week in March is Women in Construction Week, through the Women's Connection Month. Tell us, what's it like being a woman in the construction field? I know what it's like in Oklahoma. I've dabbled. I've done a couple construction law cases, but what's it like up in your area?
Well, I would say it's very different now than it was when I was first starting to become a construction attorney. And you would see, not as many women at construction related cases and depositions and court appearances. It's very different now. So, I think that's a great step forward. And it was always exciting to me because it was something new to learn about. And I kind of like being underestimated. It kind of gives you a little bit of a tactical advantage when you step into that room, and perhaps there's some that either assume that you're the court reporter, or or something along those lines, and don't really quite understand the level of experience. So honestly, it's really just preparation, right? It's doing it, it's repetition, it's preparation, and really speaking to your clients and understanding what they do, the mechanics of what they do, but not just at a documentary level, but at a deeper level of understanding how a construction site actually works, right? What's actually going on, what's done, what's not done, and really understanding the industry as well as the terms. I think that's really key to being a successful construction attorney.
Well, that's what I was going to start with. I did a few cases in my first couple of years in Oklahoma, and I don't know if it's probably just a generalization to say I feel like construction law cases, you're always going to have a lot of parties. Very rarely are you going to have the one party versus one party. And so when you're sitting there, there's 10 parties represented, and it's you and maybe one other female. It's a different kind of world, but I love to hear that it's, changing and growing, getting more females in that area. I wonder, are you seeing there's just more females graduating law school, going into this litigation? What do you think is helping that grow?
For sure. I think there are definitely a lot of more women attorneys that are coming out of law schools. Pam and I were talking a little bit before our call today about, whether or not all of the women that are graduating from law school are staying in the practice of law and the practice of litigation in particular, right?
Yeah.
It's very stressful. It's very unpredictable. And I think that's one of the things that at least our firm has tried to provide. That's the reason we started the firm, is to have a really great culture of teamwork and support, more than anything, right? Because when you have a case with, 15 or 20 depositions, there's bound to be a conflict that's going to come up at some point. Or any, really any litigation, there's always emergencies. There's knowing that you have a whole team supporting you and that has your back, I think makes you a much more successful litigator in general, regardless of what particular type of litigation you're practicing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked before we got on, Jessica, about the fact that just the pressures that we experience as women can be different. And we just have a lot of, I'm not going to say a lot more, but maybe in some cases a lot more, but we got a lot on our plate that sometimes our male counterparts don't understand. So Lisa and I were kind of discussing the way that as a female-owned firm, they have been able to sort of see the unique challenges facing women in this practice and then support those challenges so that they keep people around. And so, Lisa, tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing to meet the needs of the female litigators within your firm.
Well, we're all three of us are working moms, so we get it. And, we're all quite busy. And, I think you realize that it's not just the stress of litigation, it's the stress of whatever's happening at home too, right? You have a sick kid and you had something coming up and you have to constantly be striking that balance, that quote, work-life balance, which is not perfect, right? And it's never going to be perfect. And it's something that everyone has to sort of figure out on their own. So, especially for working parents, we tried to provide an environment with a lot of flexibility to be able to have that flexibility I have to leave, my kid is sick, but, I'm going to be working a little bit later. And it's really just all a matter of communication. And it's not just the working moms, it's the working dads too, right? We have a lot of working dads as well. And it's really just providing the flexibility for people to, have their home life and be able to manage that along with the pressures of being a litigator as well. It's not easy. It's never going to be a perfect balance, but we try to provide that support wherever we can.
Yeah, I think that's what's great about our practice. For the most part, we litigators get to control our schedule to some extent. We can block off certain days or only set depositions on certain days or times. So I think that makes it helpful. Obviously, yes, very stressful managing the deadlines constantly and consistently. But have you guys come up with any sort of maybe thinking outside the box? Maybe you have a litigator who is really good at what they do, but just can't, sign on to whatever that billable hour requirement is a year. Are you being flexible with kind of different requirements, different hours? I know you mentioned that it's all about communication. Are you seeing more actual, like, let's ink this down, let's put it in an agreement. You'll bill 3/4 the time, we'll pay you 3/4 the time, or anything else like that that's working for you?
I think it's more a matter of figuring out what people are passionate about and what they're good at, and really supporting them in that sense. At least for us, that's the most important thing. So if you have someone, for example, that really likes to argue motions and they want to really hone their skills in the appellate division, giving those people the opportunity to do that and to be successful at that. You might have someone else that really prefers the writing piece, right? They prefer to dive in deep and write that brief and make sure that all the support is there. So we really try to, at a granular level, really figure out where people are passionate and what they're good at, and provide them with the opportunities to do that. In addition to the practice areas, right? If there's a particular kind of case that you really like, we're going to try to make sure that you get more of those cases so that you're doing what you're enjoying every day. And I think that really makes it a big difference.
Lisa, we always ask our guests to bring us a hot topic, something that's going on in their world or a legal issue that is in the forefront of their minds. And so we thought we would ask you the same thing if you had a hot topic you could bring to us today.
Well, for hot topics, I would say the RICO, everything. I mean, it's really just pretty prominent in New York. It's been for, I think it's almost 2 years now since the first RICO suit was really filed. And I have to say, I think it's amazing that there's so much coordination amongst the defense bar to really be able to share information and whatever information they can to make us all better litigators and be able to dive deeper into our cases to combat fraud in New York. And it's really just been amazing to watch. And we are intimately involved. We've been sharing our information and helping out other firms and getting that in return. And it's really nice to see the defense bar actually coordinating and cooperating with each other. That really didn't happen very much in the past. So it's a pay it forward kind of thing. And we love it, which is why we love US Law too, because that's the same concept of the organization, right? Is just pay it forward and make sure that you're doing everything you can to help out the other attorneys in the network. So I think it's a similar concept, and that's why we love it so much.
When you got back in US Law, Lisa, was it a lot of the same faces and connections that you had already made in the past?
It was about half and half, and that was
Oh, wow.
really nice because there was a lot of familiar faces and a lot of the people that I had met when I had joined US Law initially, which was, I don't know, it has to be 15 years ago now, something along those
Yeah.
lines. I remember being at one of the earlier Women's Connection conferences. I was actually the chair of the Women's Connection for some time, which was exciting. And
Nice.
it was really just an amazing group. And now to see a lot of those leaders, especially Jen and Tamara, now being the leads in the organization is just so amazing. But it was also nice to meet a lot of new faces like both of you and be able to understand and appreciate how much the network had grown in my, we were on a break for a bit. And it was nice to be able to see a lot of new faces as well.
Yeah, I think Women's Connection, obviously coming up in March, very exciting, was one of the first, I think the first thing I went to ever for USLAW was a Women's Connection Business Development Forum. And then the second thing I went to ever was the big Women's Connection. And I just think that the content, the discussion, and the faces, even if not familiar at first, I mean, it just is such a great entry into the network, into what it's about, and has been one of my favorite parts of US Law in general. I know both of you have been very active in the Women's Connection. Everyone going to Beverly Hills.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I mean, I wouldn't miss a women's connection, but I for sure would not miss a women's connection in Beverly Hills.
Well, this is bad news. I can't be there this year.
What?
I know. Listen to this, though. I am the government relations representative for the Federal Bar Association, Oklahoma City chapter. And that day, the 26th, whatever day it is that you all get there, I will be in Washington, D.C., meeting with my esteemed representatives and senator staff about issues facing our federal judiciary. So it was just poor scheduling, and I had already committed to this position. So I will miss you all.
That's exciting.
I'm looking forward to a synopsis, maybe some Snapchats while you're there.
By synopsis, do you mean things that I have purchased?
I would like photos, and I would like the price tag, Pam. I would like to see what we're doing over there. Okay.
Yikes. I just got back from another conference. It's all women in trucking. And one day it's a free day, but we just happened to stay at like an outdoor shopping complex is where our hotel is.
Oh.
And I'm happy to report that the price tags were quite large. And I had to sit on my luggage to make sure that it would check, like not even carry on to check. And I was only there for 2 days. So probably need to put a moratorium on the shopping until Women's Connection. But
yeah, I think you're going to have a lot to do there. But, I did hear Mahjong will be around at the Women's Connection. So maybe what you can do is tell everyone to bring cash and maybe put some money on these games.
heck yeah.
You like that? You like that idea? Then you could, then it's not really your money. You're
right.
I don't know. This isn't a advertisement for gambling, please.
Lisa, when all these RICO cases are happening there in New York, I mean, are you having different defense firms who are involved in those cases reach out to you and say, hey, it looks like your name came up in one of these cases. Can you tell us about your experience, or how's that happening?
Yeah, it's actually happening centralized. There's actually one firm that blasts out an update anytime there's a new pleading filed or there's been a favorable decision in one of the jurisdictions. And oftentimes, so we're feeding our information into that firm and they're blasting it out to everyone else. And so that's really helpful to be able to circulate it around. It's actually it's fairly streamlined and organized at this point. At the beginning, it was sort of, all over the place. But yes, we have certainly done that where we've been able to find other suits or, the ISO searches, right? Like the
Yeah.
insurance carrier can do an ISO search and come up with a lot of hits. And once you dive a little bit deeper and you figure out what other firms are handling, you're obviously coordinating with them and what do you have and let's share information to the extent that you can. Absolutely.
Well, that's incredible. Somebody, who did we have on that was just talking about the same thing? Jessica, was it the Canadian firm?
No, it was Gerber.
Yeah.
Gerber.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I know in Louisiana they've had the same things arise with fraudulent medical issues and fraud in these auto accidents, trucking accidents specifically, and the plaintiffs' firms that are working together or working with the criminal actors to do this litigation fraud. It's all been very interesting. It's very interesting to me to see the defense bar come together, and it seems like, all right, it took like truly criminal action to get us here where we could work together. And here we have been jumping up and down for years and years screaming, let's get together. Us together is so much stronger than, kind of this disheveled situation we've got dealing with on the other side.
Absolutely. But the coordination is really what helps it all because your individual firm is only going to know the cases that you're handling, right?
Right.
At that level of detail. You may not necessarily see the video of the staged accident. You're not going to see that in someone else's case, but you obviously would know it in your own. But seeing the breadth of it and how huge it is across the, especially in New York when you have there's just so much incentive for it. And the litigation funding was never discoverable. Now it is, right? So there's a lot more that we can dive even deeper into and get more information that will only do nothing but help our clients. So we're all on board.
Yeah. And I think, once the public finds out that these things are happening, which it takes this level, the RICO actions to get it to where it's in front of the public.
Well, that's the interesting part, Pam, is that nobody would ever understand or believe that people actually do undergo surgeries that they perhaps didn't need because it just sounds crazy, right? It just absolutely sounds crazy, but it happens. It's happening. It has happened and it's still happening. So being able to pull all the pieces together and be able to paint that picture is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I was saying, I believe it was on this podcast that, that's even hard for me to fathom, and I do it every day and I see it every day. And every time I'm still like, what? No way people would do this. And then to try to educate somebody who's never been involved in litigation, who thinks that, you would never bring a lawsuit unless everything was completely above board. It just is such a foreign concept that I think this whole process of the RICO and publicizing what's happening is really going to help. I'm also really looking forward to hearing people's reaction to that what that I just uttered aloud. I really think our listeners are going to enjoy that vocal fry that I had going on there.
Yeah, why don't you guys send a comment, post on this about Pam's voice. Well, Lisa, I appreciate that. We have a few minutes left. We want to hear more about you. What are you doing? What are you watching? What are you listening to? What do you do outside of your litigation practice?
Well, let's see. I'm a sporty kind of chick. That's just who I am. So anytime we can, although it is, like I said, we are living in the frozen tundra at the moment, so it's hard to get out and do any kind of biking. But we do play volleyball, and in the summer we play softball. So we try to get out there and at least do something to get out from behind the desk. That's kind of my favorite thing to do, just to kind of clear the air and clear my head. And then I like listening to podcasts or audiobooks when I'm out walking the dogs. It's just, fun to just kind of get out and clear your head and do something different. We just finished watching Lioness. That my husband and I just finished watching that. So that was actually very good.
Okay, I haven't seen that. What kind of audiobooks are you listening to?
Well, I listen to a pretty big variety. I would say I'm kind of the nerdy kind of person when it comes to like I like reading and listening to things that are going to educate me. So I was a philosophy double major and I just
Ooh.
love listening to like really deep philosophical type things. So let's see, I just finished Tim Urban, What's Our Problem? I thought that was really an interesting book. And then Jonathan Haidt had a book that he wrote on the anxious generation.
Uh-huh.
And it's really talking about, I think that's sort of a broader topic. And it's really just sort of talking about, the generation of kids. I mean, I have college age kids, but really just talking about why people are as anxious as they are nowadays, and whether it's really based in science or whether it's really based in, the environment and the television essentially that came out in the 80s. Now I'm dating myself, but it's just really interesting philosophically. So I love that kind of stuff.
What
Okay.
was the outcome of that as someone who suffers from a lot of
Yeah,
anxiety?
what can we do? How do we fix?
Is that my mom's
Well,
fault?
it's really interesting because what they talk about, and actually it was a bestseller, I think it was on the New York Times bestseller. What they were talking about is that it's really just this perception of fear and bad things that are going to happen. I think the best equivalent I could give to it is, I lived in Manhattan for about 10 years, and I took the subway every single day. If you talk to people now, they're actually afraid to take the subway. I don't kind of get that because I lived in Manhattan, and the chances that something's actually going to happen to you are so slim, especially now as compared to back
Right.
in several decades ago. But the fear and the prominence of it and the way that it's sort of talked about publicly makes people afraid. So I like to
Mhm.
just kind of figure, well, I don't like to be afraid of things that are just sort of a maybe could possibly happen. I tend to focus on the what actually needs to consume my time as opposed to, the million other things that could possibly happen.
I do think we're getting way too much information at all times because, yes,
Mhm.
there's always the story. I get people.com, they send me their like these emails, and it's always about the latest murder or,
Mhm.
kidnapping or attack. And so, yeah, you don't hear the, 1 million subway rides went just fine. You hear the
Right.
one knife wielding suspect. I'm a
Right.
little bit opposite when it comes to books, and by a little bit, I mean completely. I am too tired. My brain does not want to think at all. I
Mhm.
like to read just basically what you would watch as a movie, like, total fiction, housemate, all of those. I want to just dive into something that's not going to hurt my brain. But audiobook wise, I like to listen to memoirs, like any comedian who is funny. I think those are enjoyable.
Absolutely.
What about you, Pam? Tell us
Um,
tell us all the
I
books you're reading.
suppose since it's Women's Month, I can probably say this aloud, but like I like to listen to smut.
Okay,
Um,
okay, some romanticy.
yeah. That's probably a better way to say it. Especially on a professional podcast. But yeah, and it's because Jesse, it's the same thing. I watch like super trash television. Give me reality, everything, Bravo, traders, all the things. I want nothing that requires brain power. And I think it's because my brain is on all the time at the office. And then, I mean, I still have my daughter turned 7 yesterday. So, I mean, I still have a little one that I'm, running around after all day long. So there is literally no time when I'm not like until, you know, 8:39 p.m. And then at that point, like, I don't want to know how electricity came to be at that point. I don't care. I don't care about anxiety
I
at
think
that
we're
point.
all saying the same thing, something that's distracting us from our everyday,
Yeah,
getting deep involved in the weeds of our cases. Absolutely.
yeah,
Yes, you're just bettering yourself, Lisa.
right.
We are
Jessica and I are
devolving.
going further and further down to the filth drain. Well, Lisa, we're not going to keep you any longer. We know that you've got a busy day today, and we are looking forward to seeing you in Beverly Hills next month. Thanks for being part of the podcast. Any closing words from you?
No, looking forward to it. I've never been to Beverly Hills, so I'm really excited about that. I think it's going to be great. And I heard the first one was there. Is that true?
I
The
think so.
first Women's Connection was there. I was not at that one, but I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting. I will
Yeah.
see you there.
Well, sounds great, everyone. Thank you for joining into another episode of US Law Live, the official podcast of the US Law Network. Tune in next week for another exciting installment. Maybe it'll be me and Pam again. You never know. Bye.